Hey friends, today we're going to check out some of the instruments in the string family that you may not have heard of before, or maybe you have. They're just the ones that are non-orchestral, meaning they're not in an orchestra. Let's check them out. Before we do, I'm going to ask that you try to practice some audience etiquette when we watch these videos. Remember these guidelines. Listen calmly. Be as still as you can. Listen quietly. Try not to distract others. You can applaud at the end and enjoy. The first instrument that is oftentimes in an orchestra and oftentimes not is called the harp. It's a plucked string instrument. It has 47 different strings. If I move my cursor over here, you can see all of those strings stretched across the harp. This instrument dates back many, many hundreds of years, if not a couple of thousand of years. It is a simple instrument in that all you have to do is pluck. Let's hear from one of my friends, Anna. She's going to play some harp music for you.
Hello, this is Anna. I'm going to be playing the song called Jump and Run. I hope you enjoy.
Wasn't that nice? Did you know she wrote that song herself? Now we're going to get into the real non-orchestral string instruments. That is, instruments that are not found in the orchestra, like the guitar, the banjo, the dulcimer, the mandolin. All right, let's get to it. This is an acoustic guitar. You've probably heard and seen Mr. K play this quite a bit, right? The guitar itself is hollow and made out of wood. By hollow, I mean there's just air inside of there. It's empty on the inside. It has 6 strings to play, and it has many frets. Frets are those little bars that go across that you can know where your fingers are supposed to touch. Its strings can be strummed or plucked with the fingers. Strum means you run all of your fingers across all the strings. Plucked means you pull on each string individually. This type of guitar can be played in both rock and classical music. Let's hear some classical guitar. Wasn't that nice? All right, now on to a lot of folks' favorite, the electric guitar. The electric guitar is a little bit different than the acoustic guitar in that it is not hollow, it's made out of solid wood. So you have to plug it into an electric amplifier, like a big speaker, to be able to be heard. That electricity also allows you to make many different sounds and tones with the electric guitar. It's also kind of played similarly to the acoustic guitar, except for it's mostly played with a guitar pick. You know, that little piece of plastic that you sometimes see me playing the guitar with. Let's check out some electric guitar. Wasn't that interesting? All right, now on to some instruments that you may or may not have heard of before. This is a banjo. A banjo is a folk instrument that essentially, instead of having a wooden body, it actually has kind of almost a drum head. Like the top part of a drum that you would hit, that's the body of the banjo. And so it resonates or vibrates a little bit differently than wood. It has a different sound. And usually the banjo player plucks with their fingers, and they pluck really fast. It's hard to play. And it's most often heard in country and bluegrass music. Let's check out a little bit of banjo. Wow, that's fast. And now on to the hammered dulcimer. This instrument is a little bit similar to a harp in that it has many, many strings that are tuned to one note each. When we play guitar or the banjo or even the ukulele, we move our fingers up and down the neck of the instrument and press down the strings to change the tone. On the hammered dulcimer, much like the harp, each string is its own tone or pitch. And it is played by hitting the strings with these little hand hammers, not hitting hard, but tapping the strings. Let's hear what the dulcimer sounds like. That's inspiring, right? Now on to an instrument from overseas. The sitar comes from the country of India, and its strings are plucked with the fingers. Now here's something interesting about this instrument. You'll notice all of these tuning pegs along there. This instrument does have a ton of strings. However, some of them you play and some of them you don't. The strings that you play, you press with your fingers to change the tone, but there's also other strings underneath there, and they are just left to vibrate, kind of like the body of a guitar, and they're tuned in different ways so that when you pluck a string above it, other strings below will vibrate. What an interesting instrument. Let's check out what it sounds like. Fantastic. And now on to one of my favorites, the mandolin. I have one of these at home I like to play. I'm not very good yet, but I'm going to work on it. This is a folk instrument that is often heard in country music and bluegrass music. And it has 8 strings, but you might see from this picture over here that the strings are doubled. That's because they're really thin. And so when you play the mandolin, you have to have 2 so you don't hurt your fingers. And the mandolin is usually strummed or plucked with the fingers, kind of like a guitar, but it's small and its strings are tuned exactly like the violin. In other words, those 8 pairs of strings make the same tones as the strings on a violin. Let's hear what the mandolin sounds like. Isn't that great? Let's check out a bluegrass group that's playing several different stringed instruments all together. That's one of my favorites. All right, y'all. That's just a crash course on some of the more common instruments outside of the orchestra from the string family. I hope you enjoy. I hope maybe some of you might learn to play some of those instruments. All right. Take care now. Bye-bye.